So all you have to do is push the talk button, talk into it.
Because of this difference, I'm good at imagining combinations that may cause errors, but aren't obvious. I'm David McNabb.
Push the talk button.
Okay.
Pushing the talk button.
committee will come to order. We want to thank everyone for being here today. Before I give my opening statement, I'd like to welcome here the co-chairs of the Autism Caucus. Chris Smith from New Jersey is here, and Mike Doyle from Pennsylvania is his Democratic counterpart also, and we thank you all for your hard work in this area and appreciate being here today. Often when this committee meets, it's to discuss the challenges facing small businesses. Today, however, we get to talk about some of the truly inspiring opportunities they can offer. After all, small businesses are not just the backbone of the American economy, but they are also at the heart of our communities. And so today the committee will hear about the role small businesses are playing in expanding employment opportunities for all Americans. I'm proud to welcome our 4 witnesses today who have had such a positive effect on their and our communities. I'm especially pleased that one of our witnesses, Ms. Terry Hogan, is visiting us today from my hometown of Cincinnati, and we welcome you here, as we do all our witnesses, and I'll introduce all of you here shortly. For adults with intellectual or developmental disabilities or disorders, finding sustaining employment can be a real challenge. These individuals can be overlooked when employment opportunities arise, and too often they are shut out from the workplace altogether. Yet across the country, we are seeing examples of how small businesses, with their ability to adapt and accommodate, are able to provide employment opportunities to those who might not otherwise get a chance. Today, we are excited to hear about some of these stories and learn more about the ways individuals who may have special needs are contributing to small businesses' success all over the country. As we approach the end of May, graduation season is officially upon us. Thousands of young adults will be leaving school, ready and eager to join the workforce. This new chapter in their life can present challenges for everyone, but for those with intellectual or developmental disorders or disabilities, this can be especially daunting. These men and women leaving school might face a future where the prospect of finding employment is unknown and options for the future seem limited. Thankfully, small businesses working to expand opportunities are allowing individuals with special needs to enter the workforce and grow their quality of life. I'm looking forward to hearing from our witnesses today and applaud them for the example they have set in showing the tremendous impact expanding employment opportunities can have. And I'd now like to yield to the ranking member, Ms. Velasquez, for her opening remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for putting together this hearing. I am very, very excited. For most people, work is closely aligned with feelings of self-worth and a general sense that one is contributing to society. Generally, when small businesses are succeeding, the result is greater employment opportunity for all Americans. Small businesses create jobs in their communities, opening doors for their neighbors. We have seen this phenomenon recently as the U.S. economy recovered from the Great Recession. Today, we are in the midst of the longest streak of private sector job growth in history. In fact, 10 million jobs have been created since 2009. And thanks largely to small businesses, the overall unemployment rate has been cut in half, from 10% to 5%. Unfortunately, one particular demographic continues facing persistent challenges when it comes to securing employment, not only when there is an economic downturn, but in good times as well. Sadly, those with autism spectrum disorder or Down syndrome have an unemployment rate significantly higher than the national average. It is estimated that 90% of these individuals are unemployed or underemployed. Regrettably, this population faces an uphill battle to overcome false perceptions about their abilities and their capacity as employees. Many of those on the autism spectrum excelled in specialized kinds of work like software testing, lab work, and proofreading. They observe details that others miss and are able to focus for long periods of time. Naturally, they take well-deserved pride in their distinctive abilities and atypical ways of viewing the world. Similarly, individuals with Down syndrome are valued members of the workforce when given the opportunity. They are proven to be efficient and loyal employees. Yet, despite their proven abilities, desire to work, and the benefits to all parties involved, a lack of opportunity remains. Enhancing opportunities for these employees is not only beneficial from a business perspective, but also from an overall society perspective as well. Research shows employing individuals with disabilities reduces reliance on publicly funded adult services. With increased public awareness and inclusion efforts, many of the false notions about those with autism and Down syndrome has been dispelled. Today, thousands of small businesses are providing not only job opportunities, but career opportunities to these individuals. We are very happy to have some of them here today with us to share their experiences. If there is one thing entrepreneurs are good at, is creating opportunity. Today, small businesses are at the forefront of creating innovative business models that employ these competent and hardworking individuals. I hope today's hearings will further dispel misconceptions while making clear that we can do what we can do to further facilitate small business employment for all Americans. On that note, I thank the witnesses for testifying, and I look forward to your stories. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll now explain our lighting system here. Each of you gets 5 minutes to testify, and then we'll ask questions for 5 minutes. And the green light will be on for 4 minutes. The yellow light will be on for 1 minute, lets you know time's wrapping up, and then the red light will come on, and we'd ask you to stay within that. If at all possible, if you need a little extra time, that's okay, but try to stay within it to the degree possible. I might note that we will be interrupted by votes at some point, we think around 10:30 or so. So if you hear buzzers go off and members scurrying out of the room, that's what's happening. We'll adjourn for a little while, and then some of us will come back, some of us will head to our districts. I guarantee I'll come back, and the ranking member will, but we will be back. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our very distinguished and very interesting panel here today. Our first witness will be Lisa Goring. Ms. Goring is the Executive Vice President of Programs and Services at Autism Speaks, where she has worked since 2006, so she's been there 10 years. Under Lisa's leadership, Autism Speaks has provided resources and support to hundreds of thousands of families and individuals with autism all across the country. Lisa has implemented many grant programs over the years to expand services and support for people of all ages with autism, and is working with Autism Speaks on its small business initiative, and we welcome you here this morning. Our next witness will be Ms. Terry Hogan, who is coming to us from the great city of Cincinnati. Ms. Hogan is the chairman, CEO of Contemporary Cabinetry East, a small business with around 70 employees. Seeing the need for inclusion and diversity in the workplace, Ms. Hogan has, through her business, looked to provide opportunities to individuals who might otherwise be overlooked or shut out from employment. Her business has also partnered with local schools and organizations to provide career exploration tours to connect real-world labor skills with the academic and life skills curriculum. This helps students gain the skills needed to transition into the labor force. And I would now like to yield to the ranking member for the purpose of introducing another witness, Rajesh Anandan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It is my pleasure to introduce Rajesh Anandan, who is the co-founder of Ultra Testing, a high-quality software testing company employing individuals on the autism spectrum. Rajesh began his career at Microsoft and then joined Bain & Company, where he focused on business incubation and growth strategy. For the past decade, he has worked in the impact sector, including setting up and running the private sector division at the Global Fund to fight AIDS, TB, and malaria. Rajesh is a member of the advisory board of the Asperger Syndrome Training and Employment Partnership, the steering committee of the UNICEF Global Innovation Center, and serves as an advisor to a number of technology startups. He holds degrees in computer science and electrical engineering from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Welcome.
Thank you very much. We thank the ranking member for that introduction, and I would now like to introduce our final witness, Mr. Joe Steffi. Mr. Steffi is coming to us from Lewisburg, Kansas, where he is better known as Poppin' Joe, owner of Poppin' Joe's Gourmet Kettle Corn. He is a shining example as to the tremendous promise everyone is capable of achieving. When others sought to limit his potential, Mr. Steffi and his family developed a business plan, and through his hard work, he has grown his business to where Poppin' Joe's Kettle Corn can be found at Walmarts, fairs, craft shows, car shows, and events throughout Kansas and Georgia, and hopefully someday in my office. Mr. Steffi has also shipped his kettle corn to our troops serving overseas, and we would have welcomed him bringing popcorn here today, but our rules prohibit bringing food into the room, so unfortunately probably won't be doing that today, unless he's really persistent, in which case we might know. He is accompanied today by his father, Ray Steffi, who will also be available to answer questions, so we welcome his father here as well. And once more, we thank all the witnesses for being here, and Ms. Goring, you're recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you. Good morning, Chairman Chabot, Ranking Member Velasquez, and members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today about a topic that's of great importance to the autism community, advancing the role and impact of small businesses in employing individuals with autism. As mentioned, I'm Executive Vice President of Programs and Services at Autism Speaks, and Autism Speaks is the world's leading science and advocacy organization. We're dedicated to funding research to improve the lives of people with autism, increase awareness of autism spectrum disorders, and advocating for the needs of individuals with autism and their families. Autism Speaks aims to support adults on the spectrum, in part by providing the tools and resources to expand employment opportunities and workplace supports for individuals with autism. As the largest wave of children with autism age out of our school system, one of our community's most daunting challenges is finding employment. It's being tackled by entrepreneurs and small businesses. Across the country, small businesses are utilizing unique flexibility to create accommodating and innovative business models that sustainably employ individuals with autism, expose students earlier in their education to real-world work experience, and provide opportunities for work-based learning and technical skill attainment. National data indicates that the vast majority of adults with autism are or underemployed, with some estimates ranging as high as 90%. While 50,000 young adults with autism each year age out of the school system in the United States, only a fraction of those are gainfully employed in jobs that match their capabilities. Autism Speaks is working with small businesses to improve employment outcomes. Over the past 3 years, our collaborative efforts with the small business communities strive to spread awareness about the benefits of employing people with autism, to develop innovative and sustainable business models and hiring practices, and to provide technical assistance to implement best practices. What we've learned is clear. The innovation and flexibility unique to small businesses and entrepreneurs enable them to lead the way in employing individuals with autism.
The thoughts that are buzzing around you will give.
That's okay. Small businesses are in a position not only to develop new models that employ individuals with autism, but to innovate in a way that directly responds to local labor market needs. The connection many small businesses have with their community is vital to creating the partnerships necessary to transition students into local workforce and share best practices with other businesses and nurture workforce comprised of people of all abilities. Businesses hire employees to fill a need and support their business's bottom line. Small businesses with workforce that include employees with intellectual or developmental disabilities consistently report that these employees' performance equals or exceeds that of their coworkers. The popular narrative that it's been largely based on a sense of corporate social responsibility must shift to business-centered and represent the worth, the capabilities, and the efficiencies that individuals with autism can bring to the workplace. Employers are often unaware of the low cost, high impact of work accommodations and benefits of hiring individuals with autism. All employees need the right tools and work environment to effectively perform their jobs. Similarly, people with autism may need some adjustments or accommodations to maximize their productivity. Employers report that a high percentage of job accommodations cost nothing, and the rest typically cost less than $500. From our small business initiative, we learned that creating communities of experts and invested partners who share information about accommodations and best practices is essential to help businesses utilize this untapped workforce. Looking forward, leveraging small businesses as a key partner in workforce development strategies could better prepare students with autism for employment and provide employers with a pipeline of skilled workers. National, state, and local workforce development strategies should collaborate with small businesses to increase access to work-based learning and work experience for secondary school students to raise employment and independent living aspirations of people with autism and their families, while demonstrating to local employers the value individuals with autism bring to the workplace. Individuals with autism deserve the opportunity to contribute as productive workers and actively improve their quality of life. And businesses today have the opportunity to access a largely untapped labor pool of qualified job candidates who happen to be on the autism spectrum. Once again, Mr. Chairman, Ranking Member Velasquez, I thank you and the committee for this opportunity to testify today. I've submitted additional remarks for the record, and I look forward to answering any questions you may have. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And it's been brought to my attention, by the way, that Pop and Joe, Mr. Steffi, actually does have popcorn here that will be available at the end of the hearing. So it's an encouragement for folks to stick around all the way through the end. So let's hear it for Joe. All right. Excellent. Thank you. And Ms. Hogan, you're recognized for 5 minutes.
Well, good morning, Chairman Chabot and Ranking Member Velasquez and members of the committee. I am Terry Hogan, speaking on behalf of Contemporary Cabinetry East, located in Cincinnati, Ohio. My title is CEO and Chairman, and we are a certified NWBOS woman-owned business. We began as a very small family business in 1984. My husband and I purchased the company from the family in 2003. And have grown the business steadily and today employ 70 individuals. My husband, Paul, and I volunteer in the special needs community and are raising our 17-year-old son, Bailey, who has autism. We understand the concern of families who are facing transition into adulthood and those who have already reached this stage. What happens now is a question frequently asked. How can our young adults become independent members of the community? Thank you for this opportunity to speak before you to discuss how we can address these concerns and to discuss inclusion in the small business workplace. We need to educate others so they can begin to take the DIS out of disabilities and replace it with abilities. We also need to make small businesses aware of the huge untapped resource, people with diverse abilities. Hiring people who are physically, genetically, or cognitively diverse is not just the right thing to do, it is the smart thing to do. I believe Cincinnati's small business community needs to work harder to address inclusion in the workplace. Over a year ago, our company hired Mike, and Mike is here with us today. When he started, he had a job coach working with him, and after a few months, he became self-sufficient. Job coaches shadow employees and empower them to improve performance. Since Mike has been with us, he has become a model employee. He comes to work on time, he is reliable, he has raised morale, brought community awareness, and has caused others to have a broader perspective. He has also developed many friends at our company. For the business, Mike has helped to develop a healthier bottom line, and everyone works harder because of Mike. A quote from Employment First fact sheet. When businesses identify the strengths of employees with disabilities, then put them in jobs that match their skills, those employees turn out to be faithful, low turnover, hardworking employees. These special employees come to work on time and when scheduled and have lower sick time off. In conclusion, I would hope you would all leave here today with a better understanding of how inclusion in the workplace adds to the diversity of the workplace environment and may lead to a more diverse customer base. The positive effect these individuals have on lifting the morale of our employees and set role model work ethic examples. Begin career and technical education in middle and high schools so students can learn these skills before they face transition into adulthood. Take the DIS out of disabilities and focus on abilities. Here is a quote I recently read, and I feel it is applicable to this discussion. We become like our friends. The people we surround ourselves with either raise or lower our standards. Mike has raised everyone's standards at CCE, and hiring Mike was the best business decision I have ever made. Thank you for your time and attention. Let's go to work. And also thank you, Congressman Chabot, for supporting the Able to Work Act.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Mr. Nandan, you're recognized for 5 minutes.
I'd like to start with a video.
My name is David McNabb. I live in Flossmoor, Illinois, and I work for Ultra as a quality assurance tester. Like others, I map and model things, but I connect those things in different ways. When I've helped people solve problems, they've sometimes expressed surprise at the solution. Because of this difference, I'm good at imagining combinations that may cause errors, but aren't obvious. I'm David McNabb. I'm different because I connect things in different ways. I'm better because those connections help me find what's essential.
Chairman Chabot, Ranking Member Velasquez, members of the committee, thank you for your continued efforts to support small businesses in the U.S. My name is Rajesh Anandan. I'm one of the co-founders of Ultra Testing, a company I started 3 years ago with my old college roommate from MIT, Art Scheckman, who's not here with us today. Someone has to run the business. Together, we started a company that we believe will revolutionize the software testing industry. More importantly, we're building a business that we hope will prove the tremendous economic opportunity to be unlocked by employing individuals on the autism spectrum. David, whom you saw in the video, is one of our team members at Ultra. David graduated in 2001 with a computer science degree, and he was eager to start work. He interviewed for dozens and applied for dozens of positions, but unfortunately was not able to find a job in his field or any field. He was eager to work, so he started volunteering at a computer repair shop and helping friends and family with their IT issues. For over a decade, David tried to find paid work without success. And in 2014, he applied for a part-time software tester position at Ultra and successfully completed our rigorous recruiting process. And within a month after starting work, he was working on billable client projects, generating an income for himself, revenue for the company, and value for clients. Within a year, based on consistently excellent results that David produced, we offered him a full-time position at Ultra. And today, thanks to his heightened abilities around pattern recognition, logical reasoning, his innate curiosity about technology, his thirst to learn and improve, his willingness to persevere through difficult and challenging tasks and projects, and his commitment to work hard and do his best every single day, David is one of the best software testers we have on our team at Ultra, and I would argue in the world. There are 3.5 million Americans on the autism spectrum, and by some estimates, a third of this community have graduated high school and, in some cases, college. Many individuals on the spectrum, like David, are extremely capable and willing to work hard and would make a fantastic addition to any team or organization. And yet, over 80% of this population are not employed. When my co-founder Art and I founded Ultra 3 years ago, we set out to prove that we could build a technology company that brought excellence to our industry by employing a truly diverse workforce of people with different abilities. And today we have team members working in 13 states across the US, including the home states of many and most members of this committee. Over 75% of our employees have Asperger's syndrome or a similar autism spectrum profile. And 100% of us believe it's our differences that make us better. Thanks to our exceptional team, Ultra has tripled our revenues 2 years in a row. we've achieved profitability, and we consistently outperform our competition. And to do that, we haven't used a single dollar of philanthropic or government support. Instead, we developed an entirely new operational model for running a business, one that reinvented how recruiting and training works, that reimagined how projects and teams need to be managed, and redesigned how we communicate and interact with each other. Today, thanks to widely available tools and technologies that allow for data-driven hiring that don't require resumes or interviews, that promote digital-first communication that don't mean you have to be showing up to an office and can work from an environment that's comfortable for you, and that allow remote teams to work as efficiently as teams that are co-located. Any business, small or large, can leverage the talents of individuals anywhere in this country, including individuals on the autism spectrum. Our experience at Ultra has proven that by doing so, companies that can not only gain highly capable employees, but can also achieve a consistently superior result and a competitive advantage. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Steffi, you're recognized for 5 minutes.
Good morning, Chairman Chabot, Ranking Member Velasquez, and members of the Small Business Committee. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to you about my journey from no expectations to becoming a successful business owner. It is an honor for me to be here. I was welcomed to life with "Here is your label." I was welcomed to school with "Here's your label." Then came welcome to adult life with "Here's where you belong." Labels create low expectations. The worst disability of all. My parents attended a Kansas Partners in Policy Making training when David Hammis presented. They learned that I and others with significant challenges could own their own business. Mom wrote the business plan. Dad continued the trial work period with me. Data collected working was useful developing the business plan. My future in the kettle corn business looked promising. My startup team included the Kansas Council for Developmental Disabilities. Another member of my startup team was Social Security. Vocational rehabilitation provided support for the specific business equipment and supplies. My past plan let me set aside money to achieve my specific work goals. I submitted my business plan to each of my team members. Their support made it possible for me to become the sole proprietor of Pop and Joe's Kettle Corn in April 2005. The first 5 years shows a steady increase in sales. Each year since remains constant. 2015 grossed $67,000. Please watch with me a few minutes of my workday.
For people with disabilities, entrepreneurship is a really good way to make a living. If you can create your own workplace environment, then you are going to be much better at creating one that you can live with and thrive in.
Pop and Joe's is a very popular addition to our market. When they're not here on Wednesdays, people ask for them.
Kettle corn's a very multi-step process. There's always something different to do, and he can always find something. When he gets bored with one task, there's always another task to do. There's popping, there's bagging, there's salting, there's all kinds of different things. And then, of course, delivering and interacting with the community.
Awesome. Thank you, Joe.
I did have a glimpse of his economic situation when we were building the business plan. First year of being in business, net profits were averaged $900 a month versus he was working a whole month at this other traditional view of him for $20.
I love being Papa Joe. I love being around people who know me and greet me. It connects me to my community.
The idea that people with disabilities are going to be co-workers in workplaces is an emerging idea.
We probably sell somewhere in the neighborhood of $5,000 to $6,000 per year of Joe's product. That's a lot of popcorn, a lot of happy customers.
Okay, let's do caramel corns.
1, 2, 3.
And I just love to see him counting and adding and handing you that invoice for the signature, and it gives me a great feeling.
It is phenomenally different economically than it would be as a wage employee. It's not some trivial pursuit. It's ongoing, serious work he's doing every day, and he certainly enjoys it.
Owning my business works for me. It creates opportunities for me to grow as a person and to be an engaged, valued member of my community. With the right support system, being a self-supporting entrepreneur can happen. I love being Poppin' Joe. Thank you for inviting me. Have a poppin' great day.
Excellent. The gentleman's time's expired? Is he finished, I assume? Okay, thank you very much. All four, excellent testimony. The buzzer you heard was votes. We've probably got time for one group of questions before we break, so I'll go ahead and recognize myself for 5 minutes, and then after that, we'll adjourn, go vote, and then we'll be gone for a while, and then come back. So, let's see here. I'll begin, Joe. I'll begin with you and your father Ray. And first of all, I want to thank you for upgrading the pronunciation of my name to Chabot. Sounds much more distinguished than Chabot the way we say it. So very, very good. Which is the French pronunciation. So you obviously did some research here. What are some of the challenges that you faced in the business, getting it off the ground, and how did you overcome those challenges? What recommendations would you have to others that might want to do something similar?
Well, basically, in the beginning, as Joe was, he had a transition meeting with the school, and they said that basically he had no attention span, couldn't keep on task, would probably never hold a job, and that he would live in a group home the rest of his life. Well, no one wants that said about their child. So I was determined I was going to prove to this committee that he could work. And it was from there that we found Kettle Corn as being a business with a number of different processes to making the product. And that way Joe could move from one phase to another phase as he chose, so he could keep his attention span involved with it. So that was one of the main things in the beginning. Funding, we were able to work with David Hamus and Kerry Griffin, and they showed us resources that we could go to, Social Security, DD Council in Kansas. All of those entities contributed money for him to get his equipment to start with. And it was from there that we started in just doing it to prove Joe could work, and it was within a 5-year period of time that they indicated that we would be able to, Joe would be able to own the business. And so that's how we got started then. We made the application the 5th of April in 2005 was when he became the owner, and has been the owner ever since.
Excellent. The one in the film there, it said that they sold $6,000 worth of the product, right. But that's just that business, right? My understanding is the business makes.
Yes, that's a cider mill there located in Lewisburg, and that's how much they paid Joe for his corn. Yeah, today they're selling over 10,000. They're selling better, close to $100 a week right now. And when you get into the fall during cider season, that kind of thing, he'll be selling upward to 1,000 a month.
And that's just that one business.
That's just one business, yes.
Overall, not to be nosy, but how successful is the business? The IRS wants me to ask this question.
No, I understand. Right. He has been audited, too. Basically, he's selling upward to $70,000 worth of popcorn a year by going to festivals. And he has about 5 or 6 outlets where he sells retail to people, that convenience stores, that kind of thing.
Yeah, congratulations. Tremendous. Next question, Ms. Goring and Ms. Hogan, let me ask you this real quickly. What perceptions do you hear from other businesses or the public out there and about hiring folks that have challenges, and and how would you respond? How do you address those challenges, predisposition that some folks might have about hiring folks like this?
Well, I think on a whole, a lot of them have hesitations because they're not educated and they're not aware. One of the things that went to my advantage is that I am raising a son with autism, so I understand the language, I get it. So I think what's important is that we get out there and educate the small business owners that aren't like me. You know, how do we tap into them to tell them it's okay? I mean, I have quotes from our employees with me today, and the things that they have said that Mike has just totally brought their morale up, made them all better employees. And some of them, most of them, have never been around anybody with special needs before. Excellent. So it's created awareness for them. It's done a lot better for our business. So we need, because we are doing it, we need to work with you somehow. And how can we get out there and talk to these people? How do we reach them? Right. So that we can give them such a positive story about how good it is for their business.
Thank you. In 25 seconds, Ms. Goring, which is all I have left, if you would like to respond.
I just think it's important that we utilize the skills that people with autism have, and they are very good at complex yet repetitive tasks that others may not be as good at. So it's really a competitive advantage.
Thank you. Very much. Unfortunately, as I mentioned, votes have been called, so we're going to have to adjourn. My understanding is we have votes, which will take up about 45 minutes, and then we'll be back. And remember, there's popcorn waiting after we get back, so stick around. So we are adjourned. Well, I apologize for telling everybody it would be 45 minutes, and it ended up being a lot longer than that. So please accept our apologies, and I'd now like to turn to the ranking member for 5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me first thank all of the witnesses for your moving, touching testimonies. I just went to the floor, as you know, to vote, and every member who was participating in the hearing were commenting how an incredible experience. And it is not every day that we have the opportunity to make a positive contribution in making sure that we open the door of opportunity for everyone in America. So thank you so very much. Mr. Anandan, one of the common misconceptions about hiring individuals with disabilities is the need for costly accommodations in the workplace. Can you elaborate on the actions Ultra took to accommodate its workforce?
Of course. So as a startup, we don't have the ability to do costly anything. We run a lean company and a profitable business. A lot of the things we've put in place, I would argue, are things that any business should do to be more efficient. So we have communication tools we use and communication rules we've put in place that take a lot of the unwritten rules in a workplace that can be confusing and inefficient for anyone and make them explicit. So for example, at Ultra, if you say, don't email the client directly unless it's important, and if you do, keep it short. Well, what is important and what is short? And is it really worth anyone's time to spend minutes or hours trying to figure out what that is? So at Ultra, an email has to be 700 characters or less, no more than 3 bullet points, and if it takes 2 iterations to resolve it, you should talk live.
Thank you. And can you elaborate on how the federal government can incentivize its larger contractors to utilize the diverse workforce and the talents of innovative small businesses like yours?
So, as you know, Section 503 of the Rehabilitation Act includes a goal of 7% of a contractor's workforce being individuals with disabilities. That goal doesn't do a lot to support small businesses who are not likely to be government contractors. On the other hand, could serve as subcontractors. And yet small businesses are much more likely than large companies to be innovative and be proactive and in employing individuals on the spectrum. So a change in policy that would allow a subcontractor's employees to count towards a large contractor's 7% goal could catalyze an entirely new ecosystem of small businesses employing people with disabilities, partnering with large contractors, and ultimately doing better business and being better for society.
Thank you. Ms. Gorin, as you mentioned, your organization has hosted various programs, including town halls and Small Business Accelerator, to get the word out about employing those with ASD. What were some of the biggest lessons you learned from these programs, and are there any takeaways that will be helpful as the committee looks into further non-traditional employees? Is off. Your mic?
We learned a couple of things. First, we learned that you need to do what's best for the business, and that it needs to make sense for the business, and you lead with that. You lead with the quality of the product or the service that you're providing. And then the second piece can be that it happens to be a person with autism, but first and foremost, you lead with that. To that point, we found that many of the small businesses and entrepreneurs maybe didn't have as much business sense as they needed to, so we provided them with information about how they can build their business, how to make it a profitable business. And then the third piece was to provide very specific training about what exactly the job entails, what outcomes you're looking for, and to break it down into small steps that are taught and then chained together. And those were some of the things that we found to be helpful.
Ms. Hogan, in your testimony, you discuss how your company partners with local schools. Can you elaborate on how partnering with school benefits both small businesses and individuals with disabilities seeking employment?
So are you asking what do we do to partner with these schools and how do we make this work? Well, one thing that's really important to me is that we bring the educators into our company and give them tours so that they can see the type of jobs that are out there that they need to go back to their schools to teach the skills. And so we've done this for several of the schools that are involved with the transition schools, like from 18 to 22. You have transition type schools available for those who wish to keep their students still learning, so unless they go to Project Search or something like that. So what's important is that they come and see what we have so that they can go back to these transition schools and teach the skills.
Thank you. Yes.
Gentlelady,
I yield
time's
back.
expired. Thank you. The gentlelady yields back. We're going to go into a second round. I know Mr. Smith is coming back to ask some questions, and as I mentioned before, what happens oftentimes, this is our leave town day, so once votes are over, they scatter like scalded dogs out of this place, all back to their district. So, but Mr. Nandan, I'll start with you if I can this time. How has employing individuals with autism impacted your business bottom line, and is there any advice that you might want to give to other businesses out there that might consider working with folks with autism?
So I would say we consider ourselves one of the best software testing companies in the world because of the teams we have and the team members we have. We've shown over and over again that when we've been benchmarked against other competitors, whether they're onshore or offshore, we do better. We've tested the Webbies, which are sort of like the Oscars of the web, and within a week found 20% more bugs and issues in the system than the partner they were working with. We won a project away from IBM and redid their work and found 56% more bugs than the IBM team for a Fortune 100 financial services company. And the reason we're able to do that is because 3/4 of our company have Asperger's syndrome or a similar autism spectrum profile and have the exact profile we're looking for to do software testing and have the raw talent, but also the perseverance, the ability to learn, the ability to work with teams. And we have managers that work with our teams who are veteran technologists who join our company to be part of a company that has purpose and a mission. So we're able to attract fantastic talent into all roles.
Thank you very much. Ms. Hogan, I'll turn to you next if I can. In your testimony, you had mentioned, what a great employee Mike is and works hard and comes on time and everything else. But most interestingly, you said it's had a positive impact on other employees and made them better employees. And obviously, as a small business owner, that's important to being successful and keeping everybody employed and hiring more people. So how has that been the case? Are there any stories or examples where the quality of Mike has improved the quality of your other employees? And the mic again, if you wouldn't. That's all right.
I have brought with me some quotes and stories that several have written.
Go right
And this, I read through all of them. They're all like amazing. And this one is very interesting to me because it has a perspective of someone who didn't know anything about the disability world. Okay, so he says, my journey with Mike Ames began 3 months ago when I started at my new company, Contemporary Cabinetry East. I was assigned to the Edge banner, and Mike was my coworker on the machine. Mike is my first extended exposure to Down syndrome. I'll be honest, I entered our work relationship with a certain amount of trepidation. There were a lot of unknowns for me about what I was getting into, but at the same time, I was so excited about the opportunity presented to me. In my limited experiences with Down syndrome, I've always found those individuals to be gentle with incredibly big, loving hearts, and Mike is no exception. My ignorance is being erased, and my concerns have dissipated. I have to say that being around Mike is one of the greatest joys I take from my job. His kindness and willingness to help anyone who asks is admirable, and he has earned my respect and affection. Mike teaches me every day how to love more. His outlook reminds me to appreciate the things and people in my life. His presence somehow frees me so I can be in the me that sometimes I'm afraid to be. I'm a happier person because of my friend Mikey.
That's excellent. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I've got like a minute and 15 seconds left in my time, and two people I'd like to ask questions to. So rather than ask you some long question, I'd just like to say, I'll start with you, Ms. Goring, and then Ray. We didn't have time to ask a lot of questions. For 30 seconds, what would you like to tell us that you already haven't told us that you think we ought to know that might be helpful to folks out there that would consider hiring folks with autism or Down syndrome or any other disability?
I think it's important to start early when they're still in school, to work on some of the skills that are needed, and to do that out in the workplace as much as possible in the real environment.
Okay. Thank you very much. And Joe and Ray?
Yes, basically, I would say a similar thing as far as if they could, a lot of people that have significant disabilities, their ability to work, either working for someone in a job or owning a business, they will surprise you what they can do when they realize that it's theirs. And that's the same with Joe. We had hoped he would come here where he's doing this for us.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Thank you very much, and my time expired. You stayed right in that time. Excellent. Thank you. And I'd like to turn the gentleman from New Jersey, Mr. Smith, is recognized for 5 minutes.
Mr. Chairman, thank you so very much, Chairman Chabot, for convening this extremely important and timely hearing. And of course, Nydia Velasquez, thank you for your, what a team of people committed to expanding job opportunities, and nobody creates more job opportunities than small business. And it's timely for other reasons. The Autism Cares Act, enacted in 2014, in August 8th of 2014, as you know, the administration has been given a marching orders to look at every aspect, all the inventories of what we're doing in every area, including employment for persons with disabilities who have autism. And as Lori said earlier, 50,000 every year matriculate from minor status to adult. They lose education, and a whole lot of, the challenges are almost overwhelming, and we will get a capacity assessment on or before August 8th. It'll probably be late, all administrations are, but it will be a further blueprint, and you're ahead of the game because small business will play, I think, the key role in that employment piece. I also would point out that GAO has also undertaken a comprehensive study, assessment, unmet needs. That too, the first iteration of that, which will come out probably in 2 or 3 reports, will be in July. So again, Mr. Chairman, you're ahead of the game. You're laying out, your witnesses were extraordinary. I can't wait to taste the popcorn. I think like everyone here, but it's just, thank you so very, very much for this. And frankly, our other committees of Congress should be following this lead. Education and workforce and others, in terms of how we position now for an employment breakout. There needs to be a radical transformation on our outdated and I think very foolish views as to what people with disabilities, including people with autism, can contribute. And I think the statement that was made by Joe Steffi about how his IEP team had so utterly failed him with the low expectations game, and said, the worst disability, quoting him, there is that of low expectations. And to Dad, thank you for the love you show for your son and that support. All of us need support teams. Persons with disabilities need those support teams as well. And what the quintessential example of a family who just gets behind their son, lock, stock, and barrel. I just have a few very couple of questions, many, but I know there's a time limit. I had a hearing in which we heard from SAP, who is in the process of hiring 650 people by 2020. They already have 100, and they made the exact same points that were made today and made so eloquently about, as a matter of fact, part of their testimony was in spite of autism and because of autism, and the very special skill set that is brought to the employment table. One of the things that was pointed out that I think, and perhaps our distinguished witnesses could speak to it, and that is that there needs to be a rethinking of talent acquisition processes at businesses and the interview methods, which very often are a barrier that needs to be overcome. I also would ask you, if you could, to speak to the accommodations issue. There was a very important study, the Jan Workplace Accommodations Study, updated in 2015, that said that 58% of the accommodations cost absolutely nothing. It's a matter of will, political or employment will on the part of HR. And beyond that, it's only about $500. I mean, we're not talking about any kind of onerous burden financially to an employer, and then what they get in return in terms of loyalty, focus, the ability to do a job exceedingly well. And I would also ask you, Laura, if you could speak to, the chamber is working with you, and but NFIB and some of the other great groups that I know the chairman works with, and Nidia Velasquez all the time, they have a very important role to play with this as well. And again, the low expectations game, I know it's the educational piece, but how do we get those who are creating these IEPs to be much more knowledgeable about the very young person they're working with? To say, you can really dream and dream large, and there's a whole path for you into the future. So those couple of things.
So I think it starts with job sampling, to start that early. Small businesses are sometimes great opportunities to start some of that job sampling. And you'd be surprised, some of the things, the preconceived notions of what you thought would be the right job for a person aren't always true, but that you can actually learn what they're good at. In terms of the interview process, videos have been very, very helpful, so you don't need to have that oral exchange as much as you can show a video of the terrific work that someone can do. And then in terms of accommodations, I think we've all seen some of the accommodations are no more than having a script in place for someone so they know exactly what to say when they pick up the phone. It could be writing out some of the rules that we take as sort of unwritten rules, but if they're just laid out clearly, as Ultra Testing did, 700 characters, you couldn't get more clear than that. How many exchanges? Those are the types of accommodations that don't cost anything, but have tremendous dividends, not just for those with disabilities, but really for everyone.
So first I'd like to say we don't see any of the changes we've made to how a business works as accommodations. That's how we collaborate, and we're collaborating across people who have very different strengths, and it just makes us better. We deliver better results. It makes us more efficient. And I think if you take something like recruiting, a resume tells you how good someone is at writing a resume. A firm handshake and eye contact maybe works for your job, but it has nothing to do with software testing. And so for companies to be disciplined and rigorous about what it is that they're actually looking for and collect data to validate that they're finding what they're getting versus letting our very natural human biases override our assessment of what someone's capable of is absolutely critical. And ultimately, it will make sure, like we do, have a 95% success rate of someone coming through recruiting to outperform IBM.
Thank you very much. Gentleman's time has expired. Thank you very much. And I'd like to yield such time as she might consume to the ranking member.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just one more question. I would like to ask Ray, what advice would you give similarly situated individuals and families that are interested in starting their own business?
At different times when we've spoke to groups, especially parents that have kids with special needs, we kind of put it in this way. You have a choice. You can sit on the couch and worry about what is going to happen to your child when you're gone, and we all would agree worry takes energy. Or you could take that same amount of energy and put it toward an endeavor that can develop to be something that could go on far beyond you. And basically that is kind of the message we have, and also helping them look for resources to bring funds available to start in an endeavor that the child is interested in, not the adult parents.
So you see a role for government to play?
Oh, yes.
Definitely.
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Gentlelady yields back. We want to thank this panel very much for this testimony. Sorry that you got interrupted by votes, but it's an operational hazard around this place, especially on heading out of town day. And I'd like to close by noting that somebody in the room here happens to be my chief of staff. And Stacy, why don't you wave to him down there? Stacy You wouldn't know it, but Stacy has MS, multiple sclerosis, and I can't keep up with her, to be honest with you. She's great, and she also has a daughter who just turned 18 who has autism. Her name's Morgan, and she's great. I met her for the first time a couple of days ago. She's always talking about her family. She's been with me for about a year now. I've been kidding her, telling her I think she's made up this family when she talks about her husband and her kids and everything. But I know they exist now because I saw Morgan with my own eyes the other day because her class was here for a Capitol tour, and I went over and met with them, took pictures, and told them some stuff and answered questions. Amazing questions, tough questions, but good ones. And I struggled to answer them, but they were wonderful. And so we appreciate your hard work. And she's tough. I'm scared of her, to be honest with you. But it's been a great hearing. I think all the members here and the ones who were here obviously before, but had to take off for their districts. We learned a lot. We will pass this on to our colleagues. Thank you for being an inspiration to all of us and doing your jobs and doing them well and helping others to do their jobs and just have a better life. So thank you so much. And I would ask unanimous consent that members have 5 legislative days to submit statements and supporting materials for the record. Oh, yes, one more thing. Popcorn Joe has popcorn out there for everybody. So please enjoy that. And thank you, Joe and Ray, for providing that for us. And if there's no further business to come before the committee, we're adjourned. Thank you very much.